Let's talk now about the physical geography of China, the lay of the land, how the landmass came to be formed in the first place. And that was with the uplift of the Tibetan Plateau. The short story, which you see unfolding here, is what's now the Indian subcontinent, which was shaped something like a diamond, crashed into the Eurasian landmass, making the Tibetan Plateau rise up. And that still is going on today. The mountains are still rising. The result is that in terms of Chinese territory today, Tibet and the Tarim Basin are these fairly arid regions, although Tibet has the advantage of being very, very high, but getting these snow melts off the Himalayas. A very different sort of landscape from China proper. By China proper, we're looking to the east. We're looking to the major provinces, but also where the majority of the population lives. And how should we understand that landscape? Thanks to the fact that the Tibetan Plateau rose, all the rivers in China flow east. And there are three very important rivers in Chinese history. Beginning in the north, the Yellow River. And as you see on the next map, the courses of the Yellow River change with time. It's been called at points China's sorrow, that the flooding of the Yellow River has been devastating for the thickly populated North China Plain. The second river goes to the middle of the country, west to east, is the Yangtze River, draining from Sichuan, the Sichuan Basin in the west, through the middle Yangtze down to the rich and riverine lower Yangtze region. And south, emptying into Guangzhou, Canton, and Hong Kong, is the Pearl River, the third great rivers. Now, there are other rivers to keep in mind. There are many, many other rivers that will come up eventually. Is the Fun River in the northwest, and then the Huai River in the east, between the Yellow River and the Yangtze. Next, note that China is composed of a collection of mountain ranges or mountainous zones and plains and plateaus. The most important of these plains is the North China Plain, the broad, flat expanse of North China. It came into being over time, largely drainage from the west, from the loess, or the dust-blown soil through which the Yellow River flows and which gives the Yellow River its distinctive color. And gradually, that area of the North China Plain, which was once shallow seabed, silted up and filled up, and population moved in. The Sichuan Basin, the upper reaches of the Yangtze River, the southeast, or the lower Yangtze River, the richest area in all of China, the middle Yangtze, one of the great farming areas, and then the far south, and the plateau in the southwest of China. Now, the Yangtze River, if you look carefully again, you'll see that in the middle of the Yangtze River are a series of great lakes. And these great lakes act as catchment basins for seasonal floods. And we can see this here with these pictures of the difference in the size of these lakes, even today, as taken by satellite in different seasons. Now, these plains and plateaus are also, as not surprisingly, where the population is centered. And that's why when I draw this line from the northeast to the southwest on the map, 90% of the Chinese population lives to the east of that line. Now, we can look at this population spread, and you can see that it's clustered, that it's denser in some areas than others. The great G. William Skinner, a great scholar of regional analysis in Chinese history, proposed that China proper is made up of 9 macroregions, that is, regions with cores centered around where rivers come together, and peripheries, which usually are up in the more mountainous zones. It's sort of a tic-tac-toe board, if you will, but 9 macroregions compose China. And there's, if you compare his map, for example, with the language map, you'll see that there's a certain amount of correspondence between the two. So macroregions is one of the ways of differentiating Chinese space. There's another very important distinction which you should be aware of. And this is the distinction between north and south. This is not just a conceptual distinction. This has a real physical basis. If you draw a line from the Qinling Mountains in the west down to the mouth of the Huai River in the east, we can start to differentiate all sorts of things between north and south. The climate is different. colder, drier in the north, wetter, warmer in the south. And here, for this, we should take note of the role of the monsoon. This yearly cycle, for 6 months the wind blowing one way to the north, 6 months wind blowing to the south, bringing rain and wetness with it. Temperatures differ between north and south. Cropping patterns differ as well. The north is dry land farming, the south is wetland farming. Today that means the north is wheat and the south is rice. And if we take China today and doing a map showing what kinds of crops people are farming, you'll see it corresponds very, very closely to our north-south dividing line.